Welcome to the February 5th, 2025 meeting of the Goffstown Economic Development Council. If you can all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and we do have a quorum, which is great. So, Joanne, if we can start with you for the roll call.
Sure. Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director.
Melanie Renfrew-Hebert, member.
Chet Bowen, Chair.
Dick Bruno, Vice Chair.
John Napoli, member.
Charlie Birchmeyer, member.
Great, thank you all. We have a fairly short agenda, and so if we could start with the approval of the minutes. You were not here last month, were you, or were you?
I don't remember.
You
Last
were
month,
I think it was
not.
for the
You were
month before that.
not.
Yeah, she was not
Okay.
here.
Can we just postpone these minutes until
Sure.
next month when we have a quorum to vote on it? Thank you, we'll do that then. Okay, if we don't mind old business, any old, Joanne, I see nothing here, but is there anything?
It's not really old or new, but I just want to verify something. So, John's term is up in March, and he does not wish to renew. And Melanie's is up in March, and we were going to talk later. And then if John is not being reappointed, then we have Oscar as an alternate if you wanted to move him up, or if he wants to move up. He's not here, but I can always shoot him an email and see if he's interested.
That'd be great.
Can we coerce you to stay?
I told Joanne and Chet earlier, I'm on a New Hampshire Hospital Pharmacy Society, and I just got appointed treasurer of that organization. So that's taken up some extra time. So, but after the 5 years, I would bow out of this one. As much as I really enjoyed working with everybody, it's more of a time bandwidth.
Yeah, without question, you'll spend a lot of time doing that. But we'll bring John back as a guest when we start doing Goffstown pop-up pharmacies.
Which could you do as quickly as possible?
Yes. Okay. I guess, Joanne, if we could start with vacant properties.
Do you, okay, so I didn't give you the list again.
That's okay.
But that's one of the options. If you want to take Kelly's advice and come up with some sort of an action plan, I would suggest that before you come up with the plan, you do some research. So one of the things you said that you'd like to do is to prioritize which committees to meet with. And I think we should probably also include maybe St. Anselm's College in with that list. And then once you have all the, committees, we could talk about that after this, but once you have all the committees decided on who needs the preference of order and who you need to speak with, then you can actually take that back and then sit down. You could even do a subcommittee if you didn't want to do the entire board, and then come up with some sort of a plan. Now, the library, Kelly had mentioned that the library works that way. Now, the library's working, on something entirely different, because they're basically looking at what needs to be, repaired or replaced or whatever within the library, and what the budget amounts would need to be, or whether it needs to be a CIP. And so they've been struggling with that for a few years now. But from what Kelly said, they have their working meeting, which is more of planning things, and then they have another meeting later in the month for the formal meeting. So I don't know where you want to go with all of this, but I'm just throwing it out there from prior discussions.
Yes, go ahead.
From that list, my thought was, do you think we should just look at the parcels that are and what are the most likely ones that could be developed, and then go from there?
You'd want to look at commercial and commercial industrial flex. However, you'd also want to focus on those that have public utilities already, to see if you can make it somewhat easier. Because it doesn't appear that the utility companies, the water and the sewer, just those two, more so than the others, like Public Service or Eversource, they're going to go wherever they need to, but sewer, not so much. So
Not yet.
they're expecting the developers to pay for it versus, the sewer commission. And I can understand that because their budget is funded by the users. And I think they mentioned they had like 2,100 and something users. They actually did something new this year for the budget. They separated, they always had the budget presented as a whole and sewer was like a line in the budget. But this year they took it out and put it as a special article. So the people will be voting on the sewer budget as a separate article, which is kind of weird because the only people being affected by that article are the users of the sewer. So I don't understand why the town votes on it, but
I'm gonna have to look into
I think it's something to do with if they were to go in default or something, the town has an obligation to back them up financially.
That is true. Financially, though, they're in a decent spot. They
Yeah,
have
they are.
a capital expense
Yeah.
account that could, if should they choose to, help with economic development. So
Yeah.
I will plan to see if I can get onto the agenda with them in the coming months once we have a better plan and have that conversation.
I think it would be better to go see them
Yeah,
because
I agree.
this way you'll get input from all three versus
Yeah.
just one or two. So that's kind of where I was going, like there needs to be some planning involved first and then decide who you're going to meet with, where you want to gather the information, and then, how do you want to go about putting together a plan? Because it's not just a plan. I mean, there's so many pieces to the plan before, it's involving lots of different things, not just the utilities, but land available, the zone that it's in. There's, and that can be only changed once a year unless you were to get a variance, and that's not the best way to go about doing planning is by variance. So,
The speed is less my concern, it's more that there is something.
yeah.
Right, that's my concern, is that we have something that we are working towards. And so I do think that once we take a look at this, I will go to water, sewer, have a conversation about their capital expense budget and see if they're willing to take a look at economic development as part of their overall plan.
Yeah.
It is part of the master plan, and they're bound to that piece in a way,
Yeah.
so maybe I could appeal to that piece. I did also, speaking of this, we had talked about last month, I believe, trying to couple this up with the road plan. And so I did meet with Adam Jacobs. We discussed that. There's nothing in a specific commercial zone other than Daniel Plummer Road in the foreseeable future, but we did have somebody here from that area looking to find a way to expand.
Yeah,
So if we
yeah.
can remember, go back into the minutes and find out who
Yeah.
that was, I think we bring that person in, couple that with me going to sewer and see if we can at least start there on a small project.
Right.
Accomplish something,
Right.
right? That would be wonderful. So I will take responsibility for making sure that I get onto that agenda once we have that plan, and if you can remember who that was.
Yeah, I can-
Very
I
well
can
spoken, I
find his name.
remember really
He was
liking the person.
who put forth the money for the new football field at the high school.
Oh, Gennard.
Gennard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really.
Mark Gennard, right?
Mark Gennard. If we
Yeah.
could invite him back.
Was it an expansion of his existing business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
And
would
he's just run
like
into
to-
some problems, a number of problems, like zoning was part of it, but it was also road plan, sewer, that kind of thing.
Okay.
He has a if I can remember correctly, I think he has a self-storage facility that's next to his industrial business.
Mhm.
And he was thinking about removing that and expanding the business. But everything was sort of up in the air because he was trying to get his kids involved and, trying to figure out what's the best plan. And then he just kind of put it on the wayside for a while.
Well, and there were access issues.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
there was something about the site.
Right, so that
Yeah.
part, I think we could work with DPW and sewer simultaneously to address.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, I want to get to the DPW director. We should invite him. I'm thinking May or June, because he's more than willing to come in and speak to us as a group, as long as we have a plan and items to speak about.
Okay.
But before I talk about a couple other things he and I spoke about, I see the prioritizing discussions with town committees. That's really, we're just talking sewer at this point, right?
Yeah.
As a start, and then we can talk zoning after that.
And you may want to talk to the selectmen first to get some, well, maybe not, maybe first, but with the new board. I would say wait until the new board comes on, because, I mean, they're the ones you're answering to.
Yeah. So, and that's worth a discussion. I tend to want to go into the select board. I mean, I served one term, and I really liked it when someone came in and already had done all the homework,
Okay.
as opposed to us telling them what they need to do. So I feel like I can navigate it well enough that I can do that, do the work, and then go there with a plan. And then all they have to do at that point is ask a few questions, and maybe we only have to adjust a couple of things
Yeah.
as opposed to start from scratch.
Sure.
Does that make sense to
Yeah.
everybody else? Yeah.
What do you, I'm sorry, so this is more around sewer and, possibilities of expansion to accommodate businesses, and should we be meeting with sewer and then putting something together to go to the select board?
Eventually, but the idea is to tie it in with the road plan, so that it's not causing undue, like, expenses and digging things up to add sewer. We're trying to.
You're talking
to
about
couple it.
existing,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, they have like a plan for when they reclaim these roads, and they like to have any water work or sewer work on the lines done at the same time.
Gotcha.
So we'd have to find out where he's looking to do. If you said it's Daniel Plummer, then. But if you look at that map, I don't know how many can really see it from the way it's posted, but the pink is commercial,
Mhm.
and the purple, the dark purple, is industrial.
Yep.
So the rest of the town is basically agricultural or one form or another of residential. And the big green area is conservation, which is 5 acres or more. Well, obviously, sewer is not going to go in any
We're
of
not
those
going to
areas.
place, yeah.
So it's a really small portion.
Yep.
Some of it is already has sewer, like the Pinardville area, most of Pinardville, not all. But we have very little land zoned commercial, considering the rest of the remaining land. It's that light green color is all agricultural.
Yeah. But that can change.
Right,
So and
sure.
I agree. I completely agree with you. For the record, getting a variance is not the way we want to do it.
Yeah.
We're looking at a long-term plan that I may never see come to fruition, but starting that process
Right.
of looking at zoning. Just basically, if you talk to people or you hear what people had said or you watch the budget committee, it seems as though where we're at with the tax rate is sort of untenable. And I'm taking our
Yeah.
job seriously to really look at significant changes that can be made to address that issue
Right.
without cutting services, because I don't think that that's the answer. So looking at that is a good way to at least get started. And so with DPW, we also talked about businesses that have not been considered before. So things that can double up as bringing in a new business, but can also serve a purpose to reduce costs in other ways, such as additional waste management options that are more local. So I'm no expert on how it all works, but I do know that a lot of the waste goes into DPW and then it is transported very far away,
Yeah.
and that is a significant cost. So I'm not saying landfill or anything yet. I'm saying there are different ways that we can look at what we do in the town and try to bring in businesses that maybe serve that purpose more locally. And that's sort of one of those things that can serve both purposes of saving the taxpayers money and bringing in a new business. So these are the kinds of things I would like to talk about a little bit more often. So I will continue with Adam, but I think if we get, not Adam, whoever the DPW director is, hopefully Adam, he's wonderful. And maybe bring him in May. So between now and then I can go to sewer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Also, point of clarification, are you here next month or is this your last meeting?
That was my question, Joanne. Am I
So
through
because we
March?
meet before Election Day, you would still be
Okay.
on the board.
I
And
will
you're
be here.
technically still on the board until someone takes your place.
Hmm.
So I know you don't want that, and you don't have to stay. But if there's no one out there in the wings waiting to jump onto your seat, you could kind of still stay there until you get replaced.
So in
Even
the
though your
first one's in
term
April,
has
you might be
expired.
sick. Is what we're saying. So
Well, that really just depends on like Oscar moving.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be here and help until
So we just have the one alternate?
Yes.
Chris is, I think, isn't Chris?
Oh,
on
yes,
it?
Chris is an alternate too.
Okay.
And then Kelly was the selectman's
Select.
rep, so that will change.
mhm.
And I'm a voting member as the town administrator's appointee. So it's kind of a strange makeup to the board, and we have no planning board member. Collis wanted to do it, and then Kelly had mentioned that that would make 2 selectmen on the board, which you couldn't have, you could only
Right.
have 1,
Right.
even though he wouldn't be there as their appointment. And he won't be around either, so.
Yeah. Will he still be on planning?
No,
Okay.
he would have to like put his name in, because we do have an alternate position open too.
That's what I mean. Like if
You
he
could
goes
do
into
that if
planning
you
that
wanted
way
to.
separately from the select board.
Yeah.
So maybe we could talk to him about that. I think that'd be a good
Yeah.
idea. I'll make a point to give him a call. And then other than that, we have for the next agenda, in March, are we going to invite Cole again? Is that an option?
Well, I think for now, based on what the Manchester Chamber of Commerce has come up with,
Yeah.
we probably should just invite someone else,
Okay.
not someone from the chamber. So they used to do this, some of you might remember, because you've been around for a long time, you guys. So there used to be there's always been the Manchester Chamber of Commerce, but there was a section that was run by, I can't think of his name, but he eventually became their director, he ran a session, I think it was like once a month, for economic development purposes, and he invited people from the economic development committees from other towns. This is when I was working for Hooksett. And Michael Scanlon.
Skelton?
Skelton, whatever. And he was really good at it, and everybody really enjoyed the conversations. They had speakers, and then you could do like a round table just discussing things. And then when he left, they stopped. Well, no, they did it for a while with Will Stewart, and then they stopped it. So they're coming back to try and start it up again. So what they'd like to do is they've contacted me as the staff person to just have a quick, like, online type meeting to just go over, like, what are our concerns. And I did talk to her on the phone and kind of explain that we had some issues as to trying to get started with actually doing something important. So she said all the towns have issues like that all the time, so we're not unique in that respect. But once they have that initial contact, then they're going to have a meeting sometime in March where they'll have everyone who would like to attend. And they're trying to, what their purpose of it is to reach out to the surrounding communities and get input and see what they need help with as the Manchester Chamber, versus just focusing solely on Manchester. So I think it sounds interesting and could be very helpful to us.
So this is still the Greater Manchester Chamber?
Yeah, they changed their name. Well, now it is Greater Manchester Chamber, but it used to be called the Manchester Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
They didn't have the Greater Manchester in there.
Make
Yeah.
more focus on expanding
Yeah.
out. And then, so this is a new charter then?
Yes, this is something that they put together. It's only a draft.
And then would you be the representative from Goffstown?
Well, it
Some of the
says
membership?
here that the makeup would be, where is it? Economic development professionals and key stakeholders from local government, nonprofit organizations, and educational institutions.
And so then the next line says representatives working in economic development from 9 towns within the region. and that
So
includes
it doesn't
Goffstown.
have a number. I would hope that if everyone wanted to attend for one meeting, maybe specifically you're interested in that thing and it seems really important, that everyone could go or most of the people could go. when we had it before, it wasn't limited to like 1 or 2 people from each community. It was open to whoever wanted to show up from that town. Basically, they were the people from the committee. But you didn't really get just some stray person walking in from the town. But it was helpful because they have a lot to draw on, and they have a lot of professionals that are part of the Manchester Chamber to begin with. So this has not been voted on yet. This was just like a first draft that they've put together, and I think they're looking for some feedback. If anyone has any, I can bring it to them when we have that short meeting. I have to set up a date with her, which I have not done yet.
I think clarification on what you just talked about would be great.
Okay.
Is it sort of an open invite to anyone on
Okay.
the council? Or is it, we have to appoint somebody from here that hopefully can show up?
Sure. And I know how, like, precious people's time
Yeah.
is, so maybe maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be the same person.
That's what I'm hoping.
Like, it could be like
Right.
a rotating, or maybe 2 people could go, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause I think you'd want some kind of consistency.
Right.
In the defined membership of that committee is how I read it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, maybe having 2 people that could either both go, or you have one at least to sustain those efforts.
The only problem with, I hope these meetings are going to be online, because the parking over there has gotten so bad, and the Citizens Bank parking is no longer open to the public. Well, it's not Citizens Bank anymore, it's basically the apartments, but it would be nice if I think they'd get more participation if they did do it online, and then they wouldn't be so limited to how many people can fit in the room and all of that. But then you don't want it
Give them that feedback.
too large. Well, then you don't want it too large that it gets kind of like people are not getting a chance to speak up. But anyway, that's what I just got the other day, and like I said, I spoke with her, and we're going to follow up on the next call.
That seems great.
Yeah, I was
I think
excited
it's a good
to
opportunity
see
to
it.
get, perspective from other towns.
Back so if we,
Hooksit's doing this like really large project right now where they had a developer come in. They wanted to site some business on. It's a similar to like an Amazon site, but they won't say who it is. It's just some company that it's a storage for their, the distribution. And they wanted to site it at exit 11, and they didn't have the public water, the public sewer, and it ran down 3A, but it stopped at a certain point. And even the businesses down at exit 10, they're not on sewer. Those businesses have been there for probably 30 years now, and they do not have sewer.
You're talking about
Like the big-
up in that mall?
The
that-
big
Target
box,
and
Target and
Home
Home
Depot is
Depot
up
and
there,
all of
right?
them, Walmart.
They don't have,
No, they don't
Wow.
have sewer. So you can smell it if you stand outside of Walmart in the summer. You can smell it in the parking lot. It's awful. So, so they got together, and this developer put up money, and I think they turned it into like a TIF district. I wasn't working there at the time, so I don't know the whole story, but they were able to bring in the facilities, the utilities, not all the way down to exit 10 yet. They're working their way down, but they started at 11. And they're tying it into other businesses along 3A, like the skating rink and places like that. So they're hitting everybody up along the way that would like it. And I think probably if you're within so many feet, you have to. And so it's sort of like a public-private partnership, and it's taking a long time to pull it all together, because they were expecting, once they did this, there's a lot of empty land in that same area, and they were expecting it to be filled. As of right now, that's not the case, but I mean, I think that will happen eventually.
I do too.
Yeah. And it's not, I think the town put the bond in place, and the developer's paying them back so much money every month or year, or however it's worked out. But So they've been all excited because they were able to kind of coordinate this whole thing, and I'm sure they'll be used as an
On
example.
a smaller scale,
Yeah.
that's what kind of envision our Mass Road.
Right, yeah.
You know, that's,
I mean, we just don't have those types of projects here. The
Right,
town's not
right.
large enough. And, I mean, they're right off the highway.
oh, yeah.
They have 3 exits off the highway where we have none. So that's another issue. Although we're not far from the highway, it's just, it's not like Bedford where it's like right there.
Yeah, but we could be looking, so again, we can talk about this another meeting and have it on the agenda rather than go off course, but we could be looking in the wrong direction to the highway. We have a number of commuters who are coming from all these different directions who have to come
Yeah,
right through us
right.
to get into wherever they're going to, whether they go to Boston or Manchester. Some that even live this way and have to go to Concord and choose to go that way. So there's a lot of opportunity if we look in a different direction to possibly create some economic growth here as well and partner with, like a public-private partnership is exactly
Yeah.
what I would love to do with also energy, right? So there's a lot of
Yeah.
things that we could do that I'd like to look at over time. But we can put that on a action plan after we figure out one small sewer issue in the road plan on Daniel Plummer Road.
Okay. So that's all I really have.
So if we want to think about between now and next month, is there anyone that anyone thinks about that could be invited as a guest? I'll think about it too. Will we just let you know and maybe see if you can invite them?
We mentioned a few people at the last meeting. Where is it? Or maybe I just wrote it down on a note. I don't see it on here. But I'll find my note. We had a few people. We had Mike Lawler.
You know what? Because of the industrial zoning we see there, I
Yeah.
actually think that would be a great one. Can we invite Mike?
Yeah. So I'll add Cole back in, but I don't know if he'll be meaningful at this point.
No, that makes sense. But Mike is always
Mike
meaningful.
Lawler. We had Tina who came.
Yep.
But Mike is the industrial corporation?
Yeah.
Mike has always had a goal that
Adam.
we partner up and work on some projects.
Yeah.
It just has never come to fruition, but hopefully we can make that happen.
Yeah, there's a pot there that they came here last year, right? Somebody came in, talked about, they have funds available.
Yeah,
you
he
know,
said that.
Yeah.
Oh, and St. Anselm.
Mm. The
I
other
was-
mystery is the villa.
I was just thinking.
Yeah,
from that.
you know,
I
you
mean, we
remember
gotta-
you had asked me to contact them,
Yeah.
and I wound up talking to the facilities manager,
Uh-huh.
and he said he was going to get the message, blah, blah, blah. And then I never, and he said, like, I'll be in contact with you within the week. And then a week and 2 went by, and I never heard back from
Okay.
him.
This was to connect them with the research, the folks that are looking, to invest in.
Yeah,
like,
some environmental,
Right,
Yeah.
to do the assessment and determine like what is needed to make it a viable property, right? That's what we're talking
They
about.
don't
right?
seem to be very anxious to
Mm.
do anything. But I can always follow up with them. I'll just write
Yeah,
down.
they're keeping the property up, it seems
Yeah.
like,
They are.
Yeah. And you see the lights on sometimes,
yeah.
even in Rosary Hall, sometimes the lights are on. I don't know what they're
Yeah.
doing, but,
But that's a big parcel,
Yeah, it
You
is.
don't think about it because the land
Right.
behind it too, it's a big parcel.
and I think there's like a cemetery back there.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
for, I don't know
for
who, maybe the nuns,
Former nuns?
maybe. So,
Yeah, it's worth a.
yeah,
Because that's a big piece as we're talking, our main road. It's
Right.
certainly-
Especially if it's not much else that they have to do. It's just resources that are available to do the assessment and maybe put this into some kind of positive direction.
right.
And I've heard that there would be a lot of work necessary within the building, if the building stays. If it's just from, like neighborhood things.
Yeah.
But that is a really good corner of land right off of there, halfway between two great places that people want to get to. I mean, you could do a lot with it.
Be nice if it was a business and not
It would.
additional housing.
So we've got some guests that we think we can line up with, hopefully, like I'm thinking Anna Jacobs in May. So we're looking at March and April.
Okay.
And I think Mike makes sense if we can try for next month.
For Mark.
For March.
Mark. For Adam?
Mike Lawler.
Oh,
for
Mike
March.
Lawler, okay, March. And then I'll put Mark Gennard for April, if you
Perfect.
can do it.
If we can do it, yeah.
And then St. Anselm and the Villa. So we'll do like May, or Adam is May, so June and July. What month do you typically take off?
We
Is
never
it
do July because it's always July 4th and no one's
Yeah,
here. So we
okay,
look at
so
August.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that's really, oh, I'm supposed to take your picture tonight too.
Oh. Do we adjourn first?
Sure.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion by Melanie.
Second.
by Vic. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.